Thank you for being here today. Earlier this year, the Florida legislature asked our office to organize a task force to look into the abuses in the drug treatment and sober home industries. The legislature recognized that Palm Beach County is ground zero in this important statewide concern and requested proposed changes to the rules and laws that govern treatment providers and the sober homes that house their patients. As part of our efforts, one of our main goals has been to investigate, arrest, and prosecute those who are exploiting recovering addicts and their families by engaging in patient brokering, illegal kickbacks, insurance fraud, and other criminal behavior. Florida's recovery industry is now estimated at more than $1 billion. And Palm Beach County has hundreds of rehab facilities and thousands of unregulated sober homes within our communities. Some of these sober homes are being operated by unscrupulous individuals who encourage drug use and other illegal activity. As a result, otherwise peaceful neighborhoods are degraded, public safety is endangered, and the recovering addicts themselves are victimized and risk death by overdose. To put this in perspective, in the first 8 months of this year, more than 400, mostly young adults, have died of opioid-related overdoses. Earlier this month in Boynton Beach alone, 5 overdoses, 2 of them fatal, occurred within a 12-hour period. Such a shocking statistic deserves an immediate and powerful response. Today, I am announcing the first arrests in our ongoing investigations. Our task force has arrested 2 individuals, James Kiger and Christopher Hudson. Mr. Kiger is the owner and CEO of Whole Life Recovery in Boynton Beach, and Mr. Hudson is listed as his operations consultant. The task force has charged them with the felony offenses of patient brokering. Since this is a pending matter, I am not permitted to discuss any further details of the case, but you have all been provided with probable cause affidavits, and I refer you to their contents for more information. This is a multi-agency cooperative effort, and I would like to thank Sheriff Rick Bradshaw and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Chief Jeffrey Katz and the Boynton Beach Police Department, Chief Jeffrey Goldman and the Delray Beach Police Department, Chief Brian Cumberland and the West Palm Beach Police Department, the Department of Insurance Fraud, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Chief John Pruitt and the Jupiter Inlet Colony Police Department, and the Florida Attorney General's Office. I would like to also recognize Chief Assistant State Attorney Al Johnson and Assistant State Attorney Justin Chapman for their hard work in leading the task force. Our task force began fewer than 4 months ago. All agencies, local, state, and federal, standing with us today are working together to identify the bad actors in the drug, rehab, and sober home industries so that we can continue to take appropriate action against them. This is a first step in our cooperative effort to clean up the industry abuses that have jeopardized the safety of our communities and have led to too many needless deaths. Today marks the first action of its kind, but it will not be the last. With that, I would like to open it up for any questions, and I may bring Al Johnson up here with me to make sure I don't say anything that I'm not allowed to say.
You're doing great, boss.
Thank you. Yeah. Sure.
When did this investigation start? And there were reports on Facebook today on some of the various web pages that there was a search that was conducted. And I'm just wondering if you could comment on what folks are saying on Facebook.
Sure, and because it involves the details of the investigation, I'm going to ask Al Johnson, who's the head of our task force. As we said, the task force started fewer than 4 months ago. And since then, the investigations, we've had 3 task forces, just so you know. One, which is law enforcement, which has been meeting in secret to develop leads, develop probable cause to make arrests, and eventually make the arrests and give it to us to prosecute. There are also 2 other task forces which help us develop leads, and people from all walks of life, including the industry itself, is on these other two task forces. The main goal of the other two task forces is to develop legislation to close the loopholes in the existing laws. So we have three task forces going on different tracks, but coming with the same goal in mind. And I'm going to turn over to Al Johnson to get into the specifics of your question. Al, you want to say anything?
Not going to be able to give you too much information. Records were obtained, and I'll leave it at that. With regard to the task force, I'd like to plug our tip line, and cards are liberally available to you on the table for anybody who wants to take one or take a bunch. We started July 1st. Dave and I started long before that, when the legislature tapped Dave to start the task force. And, we've been on this for a while, because these are very difficult cases. They involve an area of the law that is very closed, which would be substance abuse and mental health records. They're some of the hardest records to obtain. So, it takes a lot of assets, it takes a lot of help, as you see up here, to be able to thoroughly investigate and bring and bring cases.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
What's the status of the facility itself, Whole Life Recovery? Are they still taking patients? Are they open? Or
Unknown. The Whole Life Recovery was not shut down. 2 arrests were made. Records were received.
We were before the Criminal Justice Commission just the other day, and we told the commission that as our investigations and arrests and prosecutions move on, that we could envision that some of the individuals who live in sober homes that are eventually going to be shut down may need a place to live, that there could be a homeless problem that we may have to deal with in this area. We've spoken to the CJC about this, and it's something for everyone to be on notice that we're trying to protect the people who are at the lowest stage of their lives to get the help they need. Instead, they're being exploited and manipulated by individuals who have pure profit motivation, and sometimes because of that, they relapse and then die. And so we're trying to, in cleaning up the industry, we're going to also protect the people who are supposed to be served by the industry. Yes, I'm sorry, I saw some hands. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how much has the investigation cost up to this point?
Well, I can tell you this, the budget that the state of Florida gave us was $275,000 to establish a task force. When it was proposed in Tallahassee, the original figure was 0, and we said that we could not do this with our existing resources. So the legislature came up with $275,000 and required us to deliver a report in January of next year detailing legislative changes. What you see here is not required under the appropriation. It's something, though, that it's important, the law enforcement answer to what's been going on, and I'm so grateful for the cooperation of all these agencies here today. Is that
Well said. Nothing to add.
By the way, that's not to say that all $275,000 has been used by now, but it was a 1-year non-recurring grant for this effort, and that's the maximum money that they've given us. But agencies have been cooperating. I mean, that's why we're so appreciative to all the different agencies here today who are assisting us using their own budgetary resources. Yes, ma'am, Chris.
Whole Life, is that a treatment? Do they provide PHP, IOP? Are they a sober home? Do they have a sober home facility, or what is the operation?
It's an outpatient treatment facility. The housing for patients is off premises and independent.
Yeah, Chris, if you have enough, yeah, keep going.
On the tip line, how many tips have you received on the tip line so far? Can you give us an idea, a rough estimate?
I couldn't even begin to tell you. And we get tips not only from the hotline but on Facebook. We get phone calls directly to the office. There's a problem with the industry, and there are many people who want to see that problem is corrected. And so more and more as we progress, we're getting more and more information and assistance.
Yeah, can you talk about, there's an effort going on to reform the patient brokering law or revise it. Can you say, would that have affected this case at all, or?
The meetings that we've had also have come under the Sunshine Law. They've been open to the public on the legislation. The only meetings that are secretive are the internal law enforcement meetings, but the issue of how we're reforming patient brokering, these are lengthy meetings, drafting up legislation, and Al, where do we leave it at? Justin Chapman and Al have been leading those meetings.
We're very comfortable with the state of the law right now. It's a felony offense. We're asking for some enhancements in terms of volume when we come across brokerings that are significant, and we're also asking for some clarity in the language. But we would never bring forth a case that we did not have a good faith basis to prosecute, and we feel very comfortable with the evidence that we have, and we'll proceed, and we'll see what the courts do.
Right. Al Johnson made a public declaration that was reported in a lot of your outlets that the existing way of doing business, the subsidies for rent, was illegal under the patient brokering statute. So there should be no surprise. The existing statute can cover most of this conduct. We just think that, excuse me, in general, not necessarily, I'm not talking about this particular case, most of the conduct going on. Any loopholes in the law, that's what we're identifying in our meetings, and we're going to suggest changes to close those existing loopholes in the law. But the existing law prohibits kickbacks and illegal patient brokering.
How many victims of patient brokering did you identify in this case? Or have you identified so far?
No facts.
Okay, yeah, that's facts. I'm sorry, I can't get into that. You may get more information in the probable cause affidavit, but as far as specific to your question, I can't answer that.
What's the bond?
It'll be determined at first appearance.
Okay, so they have not bonded out, as far as you know?
As far as I know, Justin, was there a bond?
A standard schedule for patient brokering? No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so
So it's no bond? Would there be no bond?
No, he didn't say no bond. He just said he's not aware of
There'll be a standard bond
yeah.
for third-degree felony for
Right.
each one that
Okay.
the third-degree felonies. So when they see the judge for first
or
appearance,
they may be able to bond out.
yeah,
The arrest happened today?
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, and how does this fit into the FBI task force that's been going on, the Operation Thoroughbred? How, is this part of that? Is that still ongoing? Can you describe a little bit about that action?
The only thing I will say is we have maximum cooperation between all law enforcement as well as the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. We're in constant communication. There's no nexus between any particular case. This is a case, but we're happy to. We're all here, and we're all here because we're all working together.
Does this particular investigation have a name to it?
No, just the first one. I think what makes it important is that it was the first arrest in this area from our task force, and I just think it sends the right message to the community. We hear you. There's so many people who have reached out to us, families of victims, residents in neighborhoods where sober homes have moved in, law enforcement, firefighters, countless people who have said, why isn't anything being done? And we started the task force fewer than 4 months ago, and this is a major first step. And like I said, it will not be our last. I think it sends the right message to the community that we are on top of it. We're going to continue our efforts, and we're going to hold those accountable who have destroyed lives so needlessly in this area.
Was this case direct filed? How did this case come about? There wasn't a grand jury, was there, for this case?
There was no grand jury.
And when might we see more action? I mean, it's been 2 years since the first FBI actions, and I'm just wondering, are we looking at another 2 years, or are we looking at months, weeks, days before we may see some more action?
It's counterproductive to be impatient. You want an investigation to be right, to be thorough, rather than to just be haphazard. And I know our partners, our federal partners, statewide partners, as well as the local, Mr. Aronberg's office, we're all working together to make it thorough and to make it stick and to make it correct. So don't be impatient.
But, you know, we hear you, though. I mean, you know, we read the Facebook posts, we see what's out there in social media, and we know the community is demanding a response, and we want to tell you that the response is here, and it's going to continue.
Speaking of social media, people are asking for the tip line. Can you read it?
Yeah.
Want to focus?
Oh, you want to read it out loud?
Okay. 1-844-324-5463.
Thank you.
And feel free if you're out of the county, because like I said, we work with statewide prosecutor, and we also work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So anything we get in is useful.
Parents are still getting EOBs from insurance companies in the six figures for urine tests. Now, these are patient brokering charges, but when might we, and I know you just said to be patient, but I'm going to ask this anyway, when might they see some relief in terms of cracking down on some of the, you know, the practices on overbilling for some of the services?
Well, the Department of Insurance Fraud has been working with us. Also, you know, you see some of the industry, the market is correcting in itself, where Cigna, for example, has largely pulled out because of the problem of insurance fraud. As far as our response, we can't give you a timeline, but no, it is on the radar, clearly.
So these parents will eventually see some relief? I know we get calls from parents saying, you know, is anything going to happen? We're getting these huge EOBs. So I guess I'm asking the Division of Insurance, will we be seeing anything soon?
Yeah, I don't know if we can answer that, but by EOBs, we're talking about the balance billing that goes out, right? Yeah. We can't address that specifically, but we've heard the complaints. Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if the agent from the FBI might be willing to give us any comment on the Operation Thoroughbred, because those are federal charges. They're a little different than what we're looking at on the state level.
Good afternoon. I'm just prepared to make a brief statement today. I'm not going to take any questions. The FBI is here today to show our support for the state's investigation of sober home fraud in the area, and this is an excellent example of multi-agency cooperation. Beyond our support of the efforts highlighted here today, I'm not prepared to discuss our ongoing federal investigation, although it is ongoing. Any other inquiries should go to the Miami Public Information Officers. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, did you have one? No?
I was just going to ask if you're investigating cases in almost every city within Palm Beach County.
Well, we can't reveal where we are, but we can tell you that the task force is a Palm Beach County task force. Our law enforcement efforts clearly are focused on Palm Beach County, but also what we have been discussing in the other task force as far as legislation reform to the laws will affect statewide. Will have an impact statewide. And as you can see, we have agencies with us here today that have statewide jurisdiction. So you could say it is a Palm Beach County-based task force that has statewide effect.
Just how many different agencies do you think we're talking about in general? I mean, can you give us
Let's see.
all of them?
Ran out of fingers.
O's?
More than 10? More than 10.
Easily.
Yeah. I really, it has been very encouraging to see the cooperation in this area. And I think you see a seamless working relationship. We have great communication, and I really think you'll see some big and positive news to come.
And what would you say to those who say that this is too late?
Well, for those who have lost loved ones, obviously nothing's going to bring their loved one back, but hopefully we can ensure that their loved one did not die in vain, that future lives are saved by cleaning up the worst players in this industry and making sure that those who need help at the lowest times of their lives get the help they need without being exploited by greedy manipulators who care more about the dollar than an individual's health. And we're looking forward to try to save lives, looking forward, but we realize, and our heart goes out to those families who have lost loved ones. They are the ones who spurred our action. They're the ones who finally got the legislature to act and got the task force to be created. And we do think we're going to make a difference in this area. I worked heavily on the pill mill initiative, and we saw that that took time to develop, but finally when we got involved, we were able to make a real impact. And you see some of the individuals from that era moving into this area. And we're aware of it, and we're moving full steam ahead.
Should anybody else have any follow-up questions, they can just email them to us if you would like. We'll try to get them for you. Thank you. Yeah, that's why I did this, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Christine Stapleton, and that concludes the press conference here at the State Attorney's Office today. We have 2 arrests that have already been made. The charges are patient brokering, and I have the arrest documents here. We'll be posting these online shortly, so if you want to come back to our website, you'll be able to download the arrest. This has a lot more details, and we will keep you up to date on this. As of right now, we believe the men are still in the Palm Beach County Jail. They're scheduled for first appearance tomorrow morning. We're not sure what kind of bond they're being held on, but we'll let you know what happens in terms of their release from jail. And that's it for now. Please come back later for some more information. Thanks. Bye.